Grinding is a major part of many RPGs, whether we're talking about Persona, Xenoblade, or even Pokemon. Sometimes, it can even be the thing that keeps people from trying out some really great games. But what if the game gives you so many options that you don't need to fight any enemies you don't have to? Can you beat Persona 5 Royal without grinding? Here are the rules. I must avoid every single fight that isn't required to progress. That means no Mementos requests, no enemies in palaces, absolutely nothing but bosses and forced fights. Free DLC equipment is okay, but EXP boost and money boost are banned. DLC personas are also banned, because they make this run too easy. The run must be done on new game and on merciless difficulty. Although hard mode gives a noticeable amount less experience, I played the first few palaces on both difficulties and had a harder time on merciless than on hard, whether it be due to me doing too much damage or the enemy AI not being as good. The run is considered complete once the credits roll on the true ending route. This also won't be a complete and accurate summary of the story, so key plot details may be left out, but there will be spoilers for the entire game. With that out of the way, let's begin. The game starts with us evading capture thanks to our friends, only for one of them to sell us out. I gave the most honest name I could think of, and now I have to explain to Sai why I played the game without actually playing it. I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit, and was sent to a new school to learn a thing or two, with the help of star teacher Kamoshida. After literally beating the lessons into me, I awakened to Arsene, and thanks to its power, I'm able to escape along with Ryuji and Morgana. Apparently, we were in a palace rather than a school, and it turns out going to actual school is pretty boring, so the next day, we head back into the palace. It turns out Kamoshida has been abusing the students of Shujin, and before he can kill us, Ryuji awakens to his own persona, and we're able to escape again. The next day, Kamoshida's abuse gets to the point where Ann's best friend tries to take their own life, so it's now Ann's turn to enter the palace, and she awakens to her own persona as well. All of these awakening fights are easy, since we can't really grind beforehand, and we escape again. We grab some supplies, and can enter the palace on our own time. The difficulty in this palace really only comes from trying to avoid enemies, since if I get ambushed, I'm forced to reset to my last save. After getting past all of the tutorial fights, I face off against Archangel. A power charge cleave will easily one-shot any of my team members, so I don't even bother guarding. I immediately debuff its defense with Racunda, and go to town. It's only able to attack once, and Morgana manages to dodge it, and with enough hits, we're able to win without a single party member going down, no DLC required. The last stretch of the palace requires me to take down 2 guard captains to progress, and I get by pretty fast just by going for their weaknesses. With the path to the treasure secured, my team is only at about level 8, so I'll have to fight the boss without Media. I grab some supplies, and send the calling card. Kamoshida hits like a truck, so Joker needs to keep him debuffed at all times, while Morgana heals, and Anna and Ryuji deal the damage. This fight honestly isn't too different from our regular playthrough, I just have less to work with. Nonetheless, we take off the crown, and Kamoshida falls soon after. With the free time I have, I work on my social stats, spend some time with my bros before my hoes, and Kamoshida's confession brings this arc to a close. I meet the new counselor in town, and Yusuke, a budding young artist being taught by the famous Madarame. But it turns out Madarame has been plagiarizing his students' work, and we tell Yusuke,
"You're a victim!"
But he denies this, so it's up to us to head into Madarame's palace. After letting a treasure demon off the hook, we hit a roadblock, and of course, the only way to get past it is to have a character who was sexually objectified less than a week ago take a nude portrait for Yusuke. After some quick work from Anna and Morgana, the barrier goes down, the boss goes down, and Yusuke goes down into the palace, awakening to his persona in the process. Now that we have a 5-man party, it's time to decide who to cut off from the team. I swap out Ryuji for Yusuke in favor of his baton pass skills. The last remaining fights in the palace are pretty simple too, since I can hit all of their weaknesses, and in enough time, we make it to the treasure and prepare to fight the boss. My team is doing no damage, so I decide to guard until I can use the paint to make Madarame weak to all affinities, and give everyone the gauntlet to raise their evasion to magic skills. With enough time, we can throw the paint at Madarame and enter the next phase where he summons his fakes. I debuff Madarame with Joker, baton pass with the rest of the team, and Yusuke cuts Madarame down to size. But before we continue the video, here's a quick reminder to please subscribe if you enjoy the content. This ratio is a little nuts, but understandable since I've only just started making Persona content, but I assure you, I'm not going anywhere. Now is about the time where I realize just how many confidants require Mementos requests, including Yusuke, but I'll still keep him around for now. Madarame confesses, and I gain access to Kichijoji, where I can make up my damage from baton passes and technical hits. Makoto tries to end the run early by outing us as the Phantom Thieves, unless we can take out underworld crime boss Kaneshiro. Since we can't do anything about it in the real world, we head into the palace. Shadow Kaneshiro isn't feeling too generous and tries to kill us, but Makoto awakens to her persona to help bail us out. Now that Makoto is on the team, I'm going to try booting off Morgana for the time being, making my team Joker, An, Yusuke, and Makoto. At level 18, I can now fuse Shiki Oiji, who I'll be sticking with for a while, since it knows 4 different affinities, and with no physical, no mini boss here can really touch me. After some decoding, we reach the treasure and gain access to fusion alarms. Since I can't grind, I can't take advantage of this, so you won't be seeing it. Now I send the calling card and begin the fight with Kaneshiro. Kaneshiro starts off the fight by summoning his Piggytron, which is mainly a large damage sponge. I brought in Morgana over Yusuke for his group healing, and with 4 party members wailing on it, Piggytron goes down. For the second phase, Kaneshiro summons 2 goons, and tries to put my team to sleep while his goons pile on more damage. If Joker gets put to sleep, all enemies will attack him, and since he can't get hit, he works as a great lightning rod. I put the enemies to sleep with An, and once the bodyguard is gone, I just focus on Kaneshiro. It doesn't take long for him to run out of money, get abandoned, and with just one last showtime, he's history. After I'm able to max out An, Kaneshiro turns himself in. After working that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, a group known as Medjed threatens to harm Japan's economy unless we turn ourselves in. Thankfully, we get a text from someone called Alibaba, who agrees to help us out if we go change Futaba Sakura's heart. It turns out that the one who wants us to take down Futaba is Futaba herself, in order to relieve her of the trauma of her mother's passing, so we enter her palace for some Phantom Thief therapy. We try to get the ball rolling with Shadow Futaba, but so does she, so we'll have to come back another time. We return, and Shadow Futaba wants us to go get some treasure a thief stole from her, and to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, we get the treasure back, and it turns out to be a map we can use. But the map doesn't warn us that there's a giant quicksand pit underneath us, and now we have to travel through this palace the long way. It's pretty annoying trying to avoid enemies in this palace, since the early sections have narrow walkways, and when you move the orbs around, even more enemies spawn. It's around now where we start to realize just how bad our low level is starting to hit. I'm doing very little damage to enemies, even if I target their weaknesses. I was going to say that my Arsene run really made me forget just how easy this game is, but this palace is starting to serve as a little bit of a reality check. I didn't want to have to do this, but I'm gonna need to go to the jazz club to raise my stats, but I won't allow any level ups. But before that, we make it to the treasure, send the calling card, and now we can fight the boss. Once Futaba awakens to her persona, she can reflect Wakaba's attacks right at her, and with the ballista, we can ground Wakaba and kill her all over again. Wakaba's damage output also takes a dive, and with some added debuffs, Yusuke's trait to help dodge Wakaba's attacks, and some healing, we're able to get through the fight. We make our escape, and it looked like Futaba tried to see if drinking 2 5-hour energies gives you 10 hours or 25 hours, but Sojo assures us this is normal and she'll wake up at any time. And he's right, Futaba wakes up and is able to stop Medjed for us, and now we're tasked with helping her get accustomed to life outside of her room, and she eventually joins the team. We visit Hawaii, our principal dies, and work on some our principal died? Yeah, and now we're at a loss of what to do. We try to find some answers by going after Okumura, who might know something about the mental shutdowns, but we're a bit unsure of ourselves, so Morgana leaves to go do things his way with Haru Okumura, daughter of the man we're after. On their way home, Haru nearly gets assaulted, and Morgana gets asphalted. But we manage to fend off Sugimura, and find out Haru is going to be married off to the jerk if we don't do something about it, so we enter Okumura's palace. Not too long after we enter, we're greeted by Shadow Okumura and Cognitive Sugimura, and Haru awakens to her persona's true power. Haru will be a big help in this palace, so she'll be on my main team, along with An and Makoto. There are a good chunk of narrow hallways in this palace, so it's pretty hard to avoid enemies. The first section has us face off against employees to get keycards, the next part is a factory which can be a little annoying to get through while avoiding enemies, and finally, the airlock puzzle. The hallways have never been narrower, and I'm pretty much forced to ambush enemies and run, or die trying. I make it to the treasure, fuse a new persona with the skills I'll need to take down the boss, and send the calling card. The boss fight goes better than expected thanks to the merciless 3x damage multiplier for weaknesses. Most of the waves go down in a couple of hits, but the Execu Robo is a bit of a problem, since even when debuffed and with my defense up, it does a ridiculous amount of damage. Thankfully, I'm able to take it down with technical damage before it's too late. The last line of defense is Cognitive Haru, and with that, Okumura's plans go up in smoke as he gets grounded. There's also a scene where we enter a strange palace and Kasumi awakens to her own persona, but she doesn't join the team. Therefore,
you serve zero purpose.
Now it's time for Okumura's confession, but rather than spilling the beans, he spills up some black goop and dies. Realizing that we've been set up for the murders of Humpty Dumpty and Jeff Bezos, the Phantom Thieves try to get the upper hand by getting some intel from Akechi, but maybe trying to trick a detective wasn't the smartest idea, and Akechi reveals that he knows we're the Phantom Thieves. If we don't want to get arrested, Akechi tells us that we all have to go change Sai's heart, so we head into her palace. Akechi joins the team, but although he has some great skills, I won't be using him at all for this palace, so all of the EXP I gain goes to my main team. Because she wants a fair game, Shadow Sai tells us the treasure's at the top, and that to get there, I need to play some honest games. As it turns out,
So that was a fucking lie.
and all of the games are rigged to favor the house, so we have to do things the hard way. Here's where the difficulty starts to spike up again in terms of me getting hit hard, and the enemies only taking any real damage if I hit a weakness. But I maxed out my technical damage and baton pass ranks by this point in the game, so I'm able to manage most fights. Once we make it to the high limit floor, all we have left is the Maze of Darkness, which isn't hard to navigate through with Third Eye, and the arena, where we're supposed to fight one-on-one, but life isn't fair, so I just get jumped. The Ganesha gets psyched, the Wronged gets shocked, but Thor charges up his Megaton raid, so I'll have to be very careful. Oh my god, he's dead. And with that, we make our way across the bridge and make it to the treasure. But Akechi won't let us send the calling card because he doesn't think it'll be effective until the last minute. So till then, I summon Akechi Mementos, and we gear up to fight Shadow Sai. The first phase has us catch Shadow Sai in 4K for cheating, and in her embarrassment, she shows her true colors. In her Leviathan form, Sai spins the roulette, and whatever element she lands on, she uses, but I can only do real damage with the opposite affinity. Thankfully, she lands on ice, so An and Joker wail on her with Agidyne, Haru sets up some Tetrakarns, and Makoto heals and debuffs. Once Sai is near low health, she starts to use physical and almighty moves, but the Tetrakarns I had Haru set up work like a charm as Sai takes herself out. Enemies raid the palace, and now one of us needs to act as a diversion while everyone else escapes. Joker volunteers, and now the story has come full circle. I give Sai the most vague explanation of what's going on, and then Akechi pays me a visit, probably to help me out after all the good times we spent together. Alright, now I'm mad! So after barely escaping with my life, the group reunite and decide to go after Masayoshi Shido, the true culprit behind the middle shutdown cases and the one who got me into the situation to begin with. Shido's palace is a journey through a large cruiser where we need to get 5 letters of recommendation through some polite negotiation and peaceful conduct. Yeah, we go 0 for 5 with that plan. On our way to the treasure, we get stopped by Akechi, and this is where things get really rough. There is no way I can do any meaningful damage to Akechi, so my main game plan is hoping he can damage himself through some Tetrakarns and Makarakarns. That's enough to get through his first phase, but Akechi goes mad in every sense of the word and shows his Loki form. He's back to full health, and Haru is pretty much out of SP, so Joker's on Tetrakarn and Makarakarn duty. The Saint Hermelin badge protects me from his Bless and Curse attacks, but his almighty moves are unavoidable. This is mainly a war of attrition, and it unfortunately cost me a bead chain, but I was able to clutch the win. Akechi takes one for the team, and it's up to us to stop Shido. With how hard Akechi's fight was, I was pretty worried, and pretty underleveled despite all of the bosses in Shido's palace, so I spent every day I could at the jazz club and fused a stronger persona in order to be as ready for Shido as I could. Shido's Beast of the Masses has 3 forms, with the first taking magic damage, the second taking physical damage, and the final one being open season. I swapped out Haru for Ryuji so he could buff my team, have Makoto on debuff and healing duty, while An and Joker handle the magic damage. It overall went pretty smoothly, until Buff Pitbull showed off that he's been going to the gym too. Shido can take hits like I'm fighting with pillows rather than demons, and there are some close calls, but Shido is almost done, so we can just take the treasure. Oh, I'm just kidding. The one-on-one went very easily thanks to some items. We managed to escape the palace, with some more alive than others. But something funky is going on. It seems like Shido isn't getting arrested, and that the whole world completely forgot what happened just the other day. So we journey into the depths of Mementos to find out the cause. Unfortunately, I have to go down the entirety of Mementos in one sitting, but thankfully, the Mementos request bosses aren't here to stand in our way and give unwanted experience points. It turns out that the masses are worshipping a cup, and when we try to wash it, we're the ones who get cleaned up. Before the twins can kill us, we fuse them into Lavenza, and now it's time for us to fill our JRPG quota and kill God. On our way, we have to exterminate some angels, and lord are these fights welcomed. I'm able to gain nearly 10 whole levels off of these fights, and my teammates learn some key skills, just in time for a rematch with the Holy Grail. This fight is the breeze it should have been earlier, once we cut off the veins giving it support. With enough concentrated magic skills, it's onto Yaldabaoth's true form. Although this boss takes a good while to beat, and the weapons it summons do make this fight take longer than it should, it overall goes pretty smoothly. Makoto debuffs Yaldabaoth and heals the party, Anna and Joker deal the magic damage, and Ryuji buffs the party's attack. The sins caused by the weapons do cause a few issues, like when Gluttony is active, I avoid using magic skills to keep my SP, but I eventually need to use a Soma to get by. Yaldabaoth starts to charge up his super move near the end of the fight, but I'm able to clean house before he's able to use it. But Yaldabaoth isn't going down so easily, but with the powers of the masses, Saturnale gives Yaldabaoth an early Christmas present, a cap to the dome. Sai approaches us, and apparently dethroning a god won't get me out of being sent to jail to take Shido down, but thankfully, Akechi volunteers as tribute. And things only seem to be getting weirder and weirder, so Kasumi, Akechi, and Joker enter the palace in Odaiba to see what's up. And it's at this point where the game explores just what happens when a psychology major becomes God. Maruki used his newfound persona powers to create a new reality where humanity doesn't need to experience pain, Morgana is a human, and Sumire can live on as her deceased sister, Kasumi. We are forced to leave Sumire behind in the palace, and after giving our friends a literal reality check, we all return with a vengeance and get Sumire back. Now it's up to our full team to storm the rest of the palace. Although Sumire and Akechi have some pretty nice skills, their stats just don't compare to the party members I've already invested in. As we climb the palace, we learn more about Maruki's past and fight some pretty strong enemies. If I'm not careful, I could easily get wiped out, but for the most part, none of the fights have any unfortunate moments. With that out of the way, I make it to the top, force my teammates to drink like crazy, focus my mind at the temple, and it's time for the final boss. The first two phases go by pretty fast. On casts concentrate on everyone, Makoto debuffs, Haru protects with Life Wall, and while baton passing together, we're an unstoppable team. It does take a while since Azathoth is so tanky, but nonetheless, a very solid run. But once Azathoth evolves into Adam Kadmon, we run into a little bit of a problem. Adam Kadmon has some of the strongest skills in the game, and I can't debuff him. Not only that, even when debuffed, Maruki can take a good chunk of hits. If I don't have my defense buffed, we're gonna be in big trouble. However, we're able to get off some max power attacks thanks to On concentrating the team and Maruki missing an attack, then doing nothing, ending another phase. The last two phases may as well be interactive cutscenes. Maruki merges with Adam Kadmon and unleashes the ultimate bro fists on us. But once Futaba finds his weakness, it only takes one gunshot to the dome to finish off Adam Kadmon. But Maruki can't accept this outcome yet, and asks a 16-year-old kid to put up his dukes. So after the worst right hook I've ever seen, Maruki folds, and we all escape to the true reality, ending the game and the run. So to answer the question, yeah, you can beat Persona 5 Royal without grinding at all on its hardest difficulty. This run was honestly pretty fun. It may not have been anywhere near as hard as the Arsene run, but it's always fun to try and turn an easy game into a hard one, and being able to customize my team with the Jazz Club was very fun. Now, I will be trying this challenge for the other games, and we'll probably start with Persona 4, but before that, I have another video project in mind, one that I'll need the help of some friends for, and I hope you all look forward to it. Thank you all so much for watching, leave a like, subscribe, and check out my socials. All the support is appreciated, and have a great day.